Hey guys, it's EJ here, and we're going to be doing a preview of the upcoming fixtures of the Premier League going into the weekend. It's going to be an exciting one, and another instalment of the title race, another instalment of the relegation battle that's going on at the moment. And so we're going to be covering it all. Firstly, kicking off on Foot Mob, taking a look at the previous week's results, which we said we would come back to. Brentford versus Chelsea 2-2 draw. I think we predicted a draw between Brentford and Chelsea, so happy to have predicted that. Also, Worcester scoring that amazing overhead kick. And Chelsea, I guess, languishing in 11th at the moment. Not what you would expect, and there's questions being asked about Poch as the team continues throughout the season, and the results haven't improved much from last season. Next, Everton versus West Ham. I think I also predicted this to be a close game and a draw, and it was a close game for a while until West Ham pulled away 3-1, the second win of 2024 for them. And yeah, it was a good performance for them. It's never an easy place to play at Goodison, and it's never easy to score three against Everton. A lot of top teams have struggled to score more than one, let alone three. So, big props to David Moyes and his team for the win. Fulham versus Brighton as well. We called out in the Fulham versus Brighton game in our previous show, just stating that this would be a game for Muniz to show his potential of if he's someone who could lead the Fulham line. Obviously, a great performance by Wilson as well. But Muniz as a striker, I had a lot of expectations in terms of how he would perform. And yeah, he had a great game. As you can see, goal and assist, two shots in the game, contributed to the link up. Some improvements there as well from him, but it was good to see Fulham come out with the victory, and Brighton looking a little bit of trouble with this loss and the loss to Roma. So three goals conceded here, four against Roma. Some questions need to be asked about the Zerbi and how his team perform away from home. Newcastle versus Wolves. Again, I thought this would be a tough game. I thought actually Wolves would get out with the victory, and probably naive of myself to think that just purely based on the injuries that Wolves had. Um, and again, that was reflected in the game. Great performance by Gordon, who's kind of staking his claim to be in the England team in some capacity. Isaac gets another goal. I think that was his 10th of the Premier League season, so he's building up numbers. And you look at the Wolves team, they're depleted at the moment. So hopefully they can get some players back healthy sooner rather than later. Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool. This was a game which was marred with controversy. Again, I watched the game from start to finish, and I think Nottingham Forest deserves to get something out of that game. Two major issues I kind of will call out from that game. One being the issue with the referee awarding Liverpool possession after Nottingham Forest had the ball, and they'd called stop to play for Konate head injury. Again, Nottingham Forest should have been given back the ball, and I was confused as to why they didn't have the ball. So I think Nottingham Forest need to be aware of that themselves, but also the referee needs to, abide by the letter of the law, and he didn't, and that was a major failing. The second one was Joe Gomez and the foul that he had on the Nottingham Forest centre back, Omar Dele, I believe it was who he had fouled. And again, it was a clear foul. VAR looked at it and determined it wasn't. And again, that was crazy. And yeah, I mean, Liverpool, you've got to give it to them. They've got a fighting spirit. They keep going, but decisions like that can affect not only the top but the bottom of the table as well. Tottenham versus Crystal Palace. Again, great free kick by Eze, but Tottenham, again, marching on, trying to get into the top four, top five, keeping the pressure on Aston Villa, and that's a great victory for them. Luton versus Aston Villa. This was a great game. Again, watched it start to finish. Ollie Watkins, again, delivering great numbers. I think for him it was a goal, and I'm not sure if he got an assist as well, but no, two goals for him. And yeah, it was again a great performance. Luton looked to have clawed it back. Digne with the last minute winner was a dagger for Luton, but again they're a tough team and they never really give up. But I think the star of the show again was Watkins, and I don't think he'll be moving anywhere with the kind of progression with Aston Villa, but he's putting in high level performances, and that needs to be rewarded with an England call up for the Euros as well. last couple of games we'll look at were the games on Saturday, on Sunday and Monday. Burnley versus Bournemouth. Again, this was one I called out as being a Bournemouth win. The way they played their front four, and again that kind of proved to be the difference maker. Man City versus Man United, we won't talk about too much because we discussed it originally in the separate video. Make sure to take a look if you haven't already. Again, 3-1, Man United going ahead with the Rashford goal, and then City coming back with a Foden double and Haaland finishing it off again. What can you say? City's quality shining through. Man United have their own problems and things to sort out. And then Sheffield United versus Arsenal, again, we did a video. Guys, if you want to take a look at my kind of thoughts in depth, take a look at that video. Arsenal just playing brilliant football at the moment, and it's great to see, especially coming from an Arsenal fan. Now we've looked at the last couple of fixtures. Now we're going to be looking at this week's fixtures, and we've got some great good games to look at. Key ones I'm going to go through. We'll go through. And the first one, Man United versus Everton, the early kickoff. Again, Man United coming off the loss against City, being treated by like little brothers, didn't pose a threat after that Rashford goal, and essentially were bullied, and people were looking at their style of play and raising some concerns. Eric Ten Hag has a lot of pressure on him, and I think rightfully so, to be honest with you. I think for me, Man United versus Everton going to be an exciting game. Everton obviously coming off the loss to West Ham. I'm not sure kind of where I see this game going. I think Everton will be solid. I think Man United struggle at times to break down opposition, and so I'm probably going to be going for a draw. I'll probably be going for a 1-1 draw here. Bournemouth versus Sheffield United. Again, Bournemouth coming off the win against Burnley, 2-0 away from home. Sheffield United obviously coming off the 6-0 defeat from Arsenal, so you hope that they'll play for some pride and play with some passion. But I'm going to be going for a Bournemouth win. I think their attack and how they go about their business is a lot more well defined than Sheffield United, and so that will give them the upper hand and the advantage. Crystal Palace versus Luton, again, I think this will be a great game. I think with the Selhurst Park crowd as well, we're looking at a really good game, and I think this is going to be one that will again be a battle. I think this will probably potentially I'm leaning towards a draw. Looking at both teams and how they're performing at the moment, up and down form, scoring goals but conceding goals at a high rate. I think I will go for a 2-2 draw here. Wolves versus Fulham. Wolves again coming off the loss to Newcastle, and then Fulham also having the victory against Brighton. Again, I think this is going to be a tight match, and I think a lot of the weekend's matches are tight. I think that's just where we are in the Premier League at the moment. For this, again, I'm going to potentially lean towards a Fulham victory with the injuries that Wolves have gotten. I think we have to be kind of cognizant of that and how they're going to line up. Hopefully they have Neto available to them, but I'm banking on the consistency of Fulham and how they're performing to potentially get them a result against Wolves, who are struggling without some of their biggest offensive threats at the moment. As you can see, Hwang still out and Cunha still out. So lastly, we're going to go through the 5:30 kickoff, which is Arsenal versus Brentford, and this holds a lot of significance going into the title race. Obviously, Man City and Liverpool will be playing the next day, and so Arsenal have all of the opportunity in the world to take advantage of that, but it's not going to be easy against the tough Brentford side. They do have some injuries with Ben Mee and Ethan Pinnock, all both out, and so they're lacking that threat. Also, Brian and Bremer as well is a big miss for them. Big one for the Arsenal team is that David Raya will be out of the team. Aaron Ramsdale will be starting. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how Arsenal deal with that adjustment. Will they be able to still play the way that they have been? Raya has been involved heavily in the build-up. Will Ramsdale be able to do the same? Will Arsenal be able to get out of this tough matchup without any issues? You've got to look at Tony as being a problem. He's been linked with Arsenal in the past, and this will be a kind of a brilliant audition for him. Wissa coming back into the lineup. You also have the threat of Neil Maupay, which is also a funny tidbit to always think about. So yeah, no, I think with Arsenal, they have to come into this game prepared. They have to come in with a focus. It's not going to be an easy game. 5:30 kickoff. There needs to be an atmosphere, a presence within this team, and they need to kind of stake their claim. If they win this game, they go first. It may be for a matter of hours, but they go first, and that's a big stake and a big thing to see this late on in the season. So with after this game, there'll be 10 games to go from their perspective. Moving into Sunday's games, we have Aston Villa versus Tottenham. What a game to kick off Sunday football. Again, it's one that we definitely have to look at. Aston Villa coming into this game with a number of different injuries, but coming off the win against Luton, which will give them confidence. Tottenham versus Aston Villa, the reverse fixture. Tottenham absolutely peppered Aston Villa, and somehow, some way, they stuck in the game for so long. I think it's going to be very interesting to see if Tottenham can do the same thing away from home. I'm banking on Aston Villa to showing up and performing when they need to. And I'm not totally ruling out Spurs, but I'm giving this game to Aston Villa and hoping that the likes of Watkins, the likes of Bailey, the likes of DRB if he comes off the bench will be the difference. They have a lot of firepower. Douglas Luiz, McGinn. There's a lot of people who can affect the game from Aston Villa side, and at home with the crowd behind them, I've got a big hope that they can probably solidify that top 4 position. Brighton versus Nottingham Forest, again, going to be an interesting game. Forest, who came off the unfortunate loss to Liverpool. Brighton, who have got back-to-back defeats in the Europa League and also in the league. Again, I'll probably sway to a draw in this game, if not a Brighton win. Hopefully they have the ability to bounce back at home. West Ham versus Burnley, again, going to be an interesting game. Burnley coming off a loss. I think I'm going to be going with West Ham. They seem to be finding their form. Got some key players back, and it's really good to see the tables kind of turned in David Moyes' favour after some kind of harsh criticism when you look at West Ham's position in the table. Big game of Sunday will be Liverpool versus Man City. A lot of bad blood has been building already. Comments from Trent in the media, replies from Haaland, and a reply from Pep as well. And so it's going to be a feisty fixture, and I'm hoping for one. I want one of those classic Premier League fixtures, and I'm hoping that this will deliver. I think it's a clash of two titans. Liverpool obviously have bigger injury concerns than Man City, but I think Liverpool will bring it. They've got the Anfield crowd behind them. If there's ever a game that crowd's going to get up for, it would be this. There's a little bit of a rivalry. I say a little bit. It's probably bigger than a little bit given the amount of times that they've clashed. But I think this is probably the height of the rivalry for a little while for both teams. So a dream result for me would be a draw. Looking at it on the surface, I actually think it will be a draw because I think the teams are matched up quite closely. Obviously, Man City have the quality, but Liverpool seem to be coming with a vigour and a vim that we haven't seen from many other teams. They're keen to claw back points from losing positions. They've got a never die attitude, and I wouldn't rule them out pulling goals back from Man City, not just once but a number of times as well. So I'm angling for a draw. But if I was to lean for any team, I'd probably say Man City probably pulling it out just because of the quality that they've got in the team. Lastly, we've got Chelsea versus Newcastle, two teams who are struggling. Newcastle, who would be kind of upset from what they've seen from last season. Obviously, the win against Wolves was a big increase and indication of where they're going and improvement. But they're going to need a lot more of that given their current league positions. So currently sitting 8th behind West Ham and Man United. They'll probably want to be competing with Tottenham and Aston Villa at this present moment. Chelsea down in 11th. What can you say? They're going to need a lot of work. They spent a lot of money and the results aren't showing. But I don't know if getting rid of Pochettino right now is going to solve the problem. I think they just need to get strategic with their signings, strategic with their squad. Realise where they've probably made a couple of mistakes with their signings. Get a culture within your team. I don't see a culture within Chelsea. I have said I like the midfield profiles, but again, it's how you utilise them best for maximum impact. So it's going to be interesting for this game. Chelsea versus Newcastle, again, it's going to be tense. I'll probably go with Newcastle just as a surprise. I think Chelsea are going to have a not very enjoyable end to the season. Hopefully they get some bright performances from the likes of Gallagher, Palmer, Jackson. But yeah, I'll probably go with Newcastle. Hopefully seeing Isaac continue his great form, seeing Gordon, how he continues his good form as well. But guys, this has been the Premier League preview. Obviously, we did a review of the previous game week. Looking at the table again, Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal. Arsenal have the opportunity to go top, even for a number of hours. One of Liverpool or Man City or both will be dropping points. Aston Villa versus Tottenham, a massive game. Tottenham have the ability to gain ground on Aston Villa and still have a game in hand. Man United will be looking to compete with Tottenham and Aston Villa. Everton will be looking to push away from the relegation zones as well. Same with Nottingham Forest, and it's going to be a competitive weekend. A lot of big games. I mean, guys, we're into the last couple of games. After this game week, there'll be 10 games left, and there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to. Looking forward to the game. My game of the week will be obviously Man City versus Liverpool. I think everyone's going to be glued to that. I think the one game that people may not be giving enough attention to, and it's going to be surprising saying it too, but probably Aston Villa Tottenham, the reverse fixture was amazing, and so I think this one will be up there with kind of Arsenal versus Brentford as well as being a big game for the weekend. But guys, hopefully you've enjoyed. We'll catch up during the weekend over some of the big games and some of the big moments. Please like and subscribe, and we'll catch up soon. Peace.